The rain-slicked streets of Seattle gleamed under the neon glow of my restaurant sign. The copper spoon. As I wiped down the counter for the 100th time that night. My name is Ethan Caldwell. And at 29, I'd built this place from a crumbling diner into the heart of Capitol Hill's food scene. But tonight, my pulse raced for a reason that had nothing to do with the dinner rush. It was him, Lucas Hayes. He walked in at 8:47 p.m. Like he always did. His dark hair damp from the drizzle. His grin lighting up the room like a match in a storm. Lucas, 27, was my everything sous chef. My confidant. My partner of 4 years. We'd met in culinary school, bonded over late-night prep sessions, and built a life together in this city of coffee and dreams. I'd spent years spoiling him with surprise weekend trips, handwritten notes tucked into his apron, and every ounce of my heart. But lately, something felt off, like a knife dulled just enough to notice. "Ethan, you're staring again," Lucas teased, sliding into a booth with that effortless charm that made my knees weak. His green eyes sparkled under the pendant lights, but there was a flicker of something else tonight. Guilt. Nervousness. I shook it off, chalking it up to exhaustion. The restaurant had been slammed all week, and we were both stretched thin. "Only because you're late," I shot back, tossing him a towel to dry his hair. "You know I hate it when you keep the crew waiting." He laughed, but it didn't reach his eyes. Yeah, Mr. Alpha Manager." I was caught up. I should have pressed him. I should have asked what caught up meant. But I didn't. Instead, I poured him a coffee black. 2 sugars. Just how he liked it, and got back to work. The Copper Spoon was my pride. A cozy haven where locals gathered for artisanal burgers and my signature truffle mac. I ran it with precision. Every plate perfect. Every server on point. Lucas called me Alpha for it. Half joking. Half adoring. I thought we were solid. Unbreakable. I was wrong. That night, as the last customers left, I caught Lucas whispering with my best friend, Nate, in the back alley. Nate was 30, broad-shouldered, with a laugh that could fill a room. He'd been my rock since high school, the guy who'd seen me through every breakup, every failure. But now, his hand lingered on Lucas's arm a second too long. My stomach twisted, but I told myself it was nothing. Just 2 friends joking around. Right. The next morning, I found a text on Lucas's phone while he was in the shower. It was from Nate. "Last night was worth it. Same time tomorrow." My world tilted. My hands shook as I set the phone down, the words burning into my brain. Lucas. My Lucas. With Nate. It couldn't be true. I'd given him everything, me time. My love. My trust. How could he do this? And with Nate. Of all people. I didn't confront him. Not yet. I needed proof. Needed to understand how deep this betrayal ran. So I did what I do best. I took control. I started watching them, Lucas's late nights. Nate's sudden visits to the restaurant. Every smile they shared felt like a knife in my chest. I was Ethan Caldwell, the guy who had it all together. But inside, I was unraveling. Over the next week, the restaurant became my battleground. I threw myself into work, tweaking menus, training staff, anything to keep my mind off the growing dread. Lucas noticed. "You okay, babe?" he asked one night, his hand brushing mine as we prepped for service. His touch used to set me on fire. Now, it felt like a lie. "I'm fine," I lied, forcing a smile. "Just stressed about the new menu." He nodded, but his eyes darted away. That's when I knew I couldn't ignore it anymore. I had to face the truth, no matter how much it hurt. I started checking Lucas's schedule. asking subtle questions about his errands. The more I uncovered, the worse it got. Late-night texts, secret meetups, a receipt for a hotel room I didn't know about. By Friday, I was a wreck. The restaurant was packed, but I barely noticed. My eyes kept drifting to Lucas, flipping burgers with that easy grin, and Nate, who'd shown up just to hang out. They laughed together at the bar, their shoulders brushing, and I felt like I was drowning. I'd built this life our Lithian trust, and now it was crumbling. That night, after closing, I followed Lucas. He said he was grabbing supplies, but I knew better. I tailed him to a dimly lit bar across town, where he met Nate. They didn't see me, tucked in the shadows, watching as they leaned close, their hands intertwined under the table. My heart shattered, but I didn't cry. Not yet. I needed to be sure. I went home alone, the apartment we shared feeling like a stranger's house. Lucas's hoodie was slung over the couch, his coffee mug still in the sink. Every detail screamed us, but it was all a lie. I sat on the couch, staring at the wall, replaying every moment of the past 4 years. Had I missed the signs? Had I been too blind, too trusting? The next day, I called Nate. "We need to talk," I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. He agreed, his tone too casual, too calm. We met at a park near the restaurant, the air crisp with autumn. Nate sat on a bench, his usual grin replaced by something guarded. "What's going on with you and Lucas?" I asked, cutting straight to it. His face paled. "Ethan, don't lie to me," I snapped. "I saw you. At the bar. I know." He looked away, his jaw tight. "It wasn't supposed to happen like this," he mumbled. "We didn't plan it." "Didn't plan what?" My voice cracked. "To stab me in the back." Nate's silence was answer enough. I walked away, my chest tight, my mind racing. I had to confront Lucas next. But how? How do you face the person you love, knowing they've betrayed you? Back at the Copper Spoon, I threw myself into work. But every clatter of a plate, every laugh from the dining room, felt like a reminder of what I was losing. Lucas was still there, charming the staff, acting like nothing was wrong. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, but I held back. I needed a plan, a way to protect myself, my heart, my restaurant. That night, I found a note in Lucas's jacket pocket while doing laundry. It was in Nate's handwriting. "Meet me at the pier. We'll figure this out." My blood ran cold. They were planning something more than just sneaking around. I clutched the note, my resolve hardening. I wasn't just the alpha manager anymore. I was a man fighting for his life, his love, and his truth. The pier was a ghost town at midnight, the Seattle skyline glittering across the water like a promise I no longer believed in. I stood in the shadows, the crumpled note from Nate burning a hole in my pocket. Lucas and Nate were meeting here, and I was done waiting for answers. I needed to see it with my own eyes, to hear the truth, even if it destroyed me. The air was sharp, carrying the briny scent of Puget Sound. I pulled my jacket tighter, my breath visible in the cold. Then I saw them Lucas's familiar silhouette, his hands stuffed in his pockets, and Nate, pacing nervously by a lamppost. They hadn't noticed me yet, hidden behind a stack of crates. My heart pounded so loud I thought they'd hear it. "Lucas, we can't keep doing this," Nate said, his voice low but carrying in the quiet night. "Ethan's gonna find out." "He already suspects," Lucas replied, his tone sharp, almost defensive. "He's been acting weird all week. I can feel it." My stomach churned. So Lucas knew I was onto him. But why hadn't he come clean? Why keep up the charade? Smiling at me every day while sneaking off with my best friend. I wanted to storm out, to confront them right there. But my feet stayed rooted. I needed more. Then what's the plan? Nate asked, stepping closer. You said you'd leave him. You said we'd. Chill. Lucas cut him off, glancing around. Not here. Not yet. Leave me. The words hit like a punch. For years of building a life together, late nights perfecting recipes, lazy Sundays tangled in bed, dreams of opening a second restaurant, and Lucas was ready to throw it all away. For Nate, my vision blurred, not from the cold, but from the betrayal sinking deeper into my bones. I stayed hidden, listening as they argued in hushed tones. Nate wanted to come clean, to give Ethan closure. Lucas resisted, saying it would ruin everything. Ruin what? My restaurant. Our relationship. My life. I couldn't make sense of it, but every word was a fresh cut. When they finally left, I stayed behind, the pier's silence deafening. I walked to the edge, staring at the dark water below. I'd always been the strong one, the guy who fixed problems, who kept the restaurant running like clockwork. But now, I felt powerless, like a ship adrift with no anchor. The next day at the Copper Spoon, I moved like a ghost. Lucas was in the kitchen, prepping for lunch, his usual charm dialed up as he joked with the line cooks. I watched him from the office, my hands trembling as I pretended to review invoices. How could he act so normal? How could he stand there, flipping pancakes, knowing he was tearing my world apart? I called a staff meeting that afternoon, needing a distraction. We're rolling out a new fall menu, I announced, my voice steadier than I felt. Pumpkin risotto, apple cider braised pork. Lucas, I want you to lead the tastings. He nodded, but his smile was tight. Sure thing. Boss. Boss. Not babe. Not Ethan. The distance in his voice stung more than I expected. After the meeting, I pulled Nate aside. He'd been avoiding me, but I cornered him in the storage room. Tell me the truth, I said, my voice low. How long has this been going on? Nate's eyes widened, but he didn't deny it. A few months, he admitted, looking at the floor. It started as a mistake. Ethan. I swear. A mistake. I laughed, bitter. You don't accidentally sleep with your best friend's partner for months. He flinched. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. Save it. I cut him off. I trusted you. Both of you. I walked out before he could respond, my chest tight with rage and grief. I couldn't face Lucas, yet not without losing control. Instead, I threw myself into the restaurant, micromanaging every detail. The staff noticed, whispering about Ethan's mood, but I didn't care. The Copper Spoon was all I had left, and I'd be damned if I let it fall apart too. That night, I went through Lucas's phone again. I hated myself for it, but I needed answers. There were more texts from Nate, photos of them at places we used to go together, Pike Place, the waterfront. Each image was a dagger, proof of how deep their betrayal ran. But one message stopped me cold. We'll tell him after the investor meeting. Then we can start fresh. Investor meeting. My investor meeting. The one I'd been prepping for months to expand the Copper Spoon. Lucas was my sous chef, my right hand. He knew how much this meant to me. Was he planning to sabotage it? To leave me and take Nate with him? Maybe even poach my staff? I couldn't sleep that night. I lay in our bed, Lucas's side empty, his late shift excuse ringing hollow. I thought about confronting him, throwing the phone in his face, but I needed to be smart. If he was planning something with the investors, I had to protect my business first. The next morning, I called my lawyer, Rachel. She'd helped me set up the Copper Spoons LLC, and I trusted her to keep things discreet. I need to know my options, I told her, explaining the situation without naming names. If someone close to me is disloyal, how do I safeguard the restaurant? Rachel was all business. We can audit the books, lock down contracts, and limit access to sensitive info. But Ethan, if this is personal, you need to handle that separately. Don't let it bleed into the business. Too late for that, I thought. It was already bleeding. I spent the day tightening security, changing passwords, reviewing accounts, watching Lucas like a hawk. He noticed. His jokes less frequent. His eyes darting to me when he thought I wasn't looking. Good. Let him squirm. By the weekend, the investor meeting loomed. I'd poured everything into this pitch-a second location. A bigger dream. Lucas was supposed to present the menu, his charm the perfect complement to my vision. But now, I didn't trust him to stand beside me. I didn't trust him at all. I decided to test him. Lucas, I said during a quiet moment in the kitchen, I'm thinking of cutting the investor pitch. It's too risky. His eyes widened. Just for a second. What? Ethan, you've been working on this for months. Why back out now? Just a feeling, I said, watching his reaction. Something's not right. He swallowed, his hands fidgeting with a dish towel. You're overthinking it. We've got this. We. The word felt like a lie. I nodded, playing along, but my mind was made up. I'd do the pitch alone. Lucas wasn't my partner anymore, not in business, not in life. That night, I found another note in his apron. After the meeting, we're free. Free from what? Me. The restaurant. The life we'd built. I clutched the note, my anger giving way to something colder, determination. I wasn't going to let them win. The investor meeting was 3 days away, and the Copper Spoon buzzed with its usual rhythm, clinking plates, laughter from the dining room, the sizzle of burgers on the grill. But for me, Ethan Caldwell, the heart of this place felt hollow. Lucas was still here, playing the part of the perfect sous chef. But every smile he flashed at customers twisted the knife deeper. I decided to cut him out of the pitch, but I needed a plan to protect my restaurant and myself before confronting him. I started by auditing everything. I spent hours in the office, combing through financials, vendor contracts, even staff schedules. Rachel, my lawyer, had warned me to secure the business, and I wasn't taking chances. I found nothing out of place yet but the paranoia gnawed at me. What if Lucas and Nate were planning to undermine me? What if they were after more than just each other? I watched Lucas closely, noting every interaction. He was too good at this, too smooth. During lunch service, he caught me staring and walked over, wiping his hands on his apron. You sure you're okay, Ethan? He asked, his voice soft, almost convincing. You've been off lately. I forced a smile, just focused on the pitch. Big week. He nodded, but his eyes lingered on me, searching for something. I wanted to grab him, demand answers, but I held back. Timing was everything. If I confronted him now, before the meeting, I risked losing control of the restaurant, of myself. Instead, I turned to Nate. I needed to understand his role in this. I texted him to meet me at a coffee shop across town, far from the restaurant's prying eyes. He showed up late, his usual confidence replaced by a jittery edge. Ethan, I know you're mad, he started, before I could speak. Mad doesn't cover it, I said, keeping my voice low. You were my best friend. Nate, how could you do this? He looked down at his coffee, his fingers tapping the cup. It wasn't planned. It just happened. Lucas and we connected. I didn't mean to hurt you. Connected. I scoffed. You've been sneaking around for months. You think that's an accident? Nate's silence was deafening. Finally, he said, Lucas wants to tell you. He's just scared. Scared of what? I pressed. Losing me. Or losing the restaurant. Nate's eyes flicked up. Surprised. The restaurant. This isn't about that. Then what's the investor meeting got to do with it? I asked, leaning forward. I saw your texts. After the meeting. We're free. What's that mean? He hesitated, and I knew I'd hit a nerve. It's not what you think, he said quickly. We want to start over. Together. Away from here. Away from me. I corrected, my voice cold. You're planning to leave. Take Lucas. And what, start your own place? With my recipes. My staff. No. Nate's voice rose, drawing looks from nearby tables. He lowered it. Ethan, I swear, it's not about the restaurant. It's just us. I didn't believe him. Not fully. But I let him think I did, nodding as if satisfied. I need time, I said, standing. Don't come near the copper spoon until I say so. He nodded, guilt written all over his face. I walked out, my mind racing. If they weren't after the restaurant, what were they planning? And why wait until after the investor meeting? Back at the copper spoon, I rewrote the pitch. I cut Lucas's parts, replacing them with my own notes. I'd present the menu, the vision, everything. I didn't need him not for this. But every change felt like erasing a piece of us, of the dream we'd shared. For years ago, we'd sat in this very restaurant, sketching out ideas on napkins, laughing about our future. Now, I was rewriting it alone. That night, Lucas came home late. I was on the couch, pretending to read. He dropped his bag by the door, his face tired but guarded. Long day, he said, heading to the kitchen. Yeah, I replied, my voice flat. Where were you? He froze, just for a second. Supply run. You know how it is. I didn't push. Not yet. But I noticed the way he avoided my eyes, the way his hands fidgeted. He was nervous, and that gave me power. I'd use it. The next day, I met with Rachel again. I want Lucas off the LLC, I said. He's too involved in the business, and I don't trust him anymore. She raised an eyebrow. That's a big move. Ethan. You sure? I'm sure, I said. And I want to know if he's been talking to the investors behind my back. Rachel promised to dig into it. Meanwhile, I kept up appearances at the restaurant. I smiled, joked with the staff, even helped Lucas in the kitchen when a rush hit. But inside, I was a storm. Every touch, every laugh, felt like a betrayal. I started noticing little things: Lucas checking his phone too often, slipping out for breaks that lasted too long. I followed him once, just to the alley, where he was texting furiously. I couldn't see the screen, but I didn't need to. I knew. The day before the investor meeting, I found an email in the restaurant's shared account. It was from one of the investors, addressed to Lucas. Looking forward to your input tomorrow. Big plans. My blood ran cold. Lucas wasn't just betraying me personally, he was going behind my back professionally. Was he pitching his own ideas? Trying to take control? I printed the email, tucking it into my wallet. Evidence. I'd need it. That night, I barely slept, my mind spinning with worst-case scenarios. Lucas was already in bed when I got home. his back to me. I wanted to shake him, to scream, but I stayed silent. Tomorrow, I'd have my answers. The investor meeting was held in a sleek downtown office, all glass and steel. I wore my best suit, my pitch polished to perfection. Lucas was there, dressed sharply, his smile too bright. The investors, 3 men and a woman, all in their 50s, greeted us warmly. I shook hands, my grip firm, my face a mask. As the meeting started, I took the lead, presenting the vision for the Copper Spoon's expansion. The investors nodded, impressed, but I kept glancing at Lucas. He was too quiet, his hands folded tightly in his lap. When it was his turn to speak, he hesitated, then launched into a polished spiel about the menu. It was good, too good. Rehearsed, like he'd been preparing for something else. One of the investors, a gray-haired man named Richard, leaned forward. Lucas, you mentioned a new concept earlier. Care to elaborate? My heart stopped. A new concept. Lucas hadn't mentioned anything to me. He glanced my way, his face pale. It's just an idea, he stammered. Nothing concrete. Tell us, Richard pressed, smiling. We're all ears. Lucas swallowed, and I knew. This was the moment he'd been waiting for. The moment he'd betray me, not just as a partner, but as a business owner. I gripped my pen, waiting for the blow. Lucas's hesitation hung in the air like smoke, thick and suffocating. The investor's eyes were on him, expectant, while I sat frozen, my pen digging into my palm. This was the moment I'd been dreading. The moment Lucas would reveal whatever scheme he and Nate had been cooking up behind my back. It's just a side project, Lucas said finally, his voice unsteady. A pop-up concept. Maybe. Farm to table. Hyperlocal. I thought it could complement the Copper Spoon's brand. I stared at him, my mind racing. A pop-up. That wasn't part of our plan. We'd spent months crafting the expansion pitch for a second Copper Spoon location, not some side hustle. Was this his way of easing into a bigger betrayal? Or was he covering for something worse? Richard, the investor, nodded thoughtfully. Interesting. We'd love to hear more. Lucas, maybe a separate meeting. Lucas forced a smile, but I saw the panic in his eyes. Sure. Yeah. I'll follow up. I kept my face neutral, but inside, I was boiling. He'd gone behind my back, pitching ideas to the investors without telling me. This wasn't just about him and Nate anymore. This was about my restaurant, my dream. I'd built the Copper Spoon from nothing, and I wasn't about to let Lucas steal it. The rest of the meeting passed in a blur. I nailed the pitch, outlining revenue projections and menu plans with the precision that had earned me the Alpha nickname. The investors were impressed, promising to follow up with funding details. But as we left the office, Lucas avoided my gaze, mumbling about needing to check on a delivery. I didn't let him slip away. Lucas, I called, my voice sharp as we reached the parking lot. What the hell was that? He stopped, his shoulders tensing. What do you mean? The pop-up. The side project you never mentioned. I stepped closer, my voice low. What else are you hiding? His eyes darted away, and I knew I'd caught him. It's not a big deal, Ethan. I was just brainstorming. Brainstorming with the investors. Without me. I laughed, bitter. I saw the email. Lucas, I know you've been talking to them. His face paled. You went through my email? No. The restaurant's email. My email. I stepped closer, my anger spilling over. This is my business. Lucas. My life. And you're sneaking around with Nate. planning God knows what. Tell me the truth. Now. He opened his mouth, then closed it, his hands shaking. Ethan, I didn't mean for it to go this far. Didn't mean for what? I pressed, my voice breaking. To cheat on me. To betray me. To take my restaurant. It's not about the restaurant. He shouted, then caught himself, glancing around the empty lot. It's about us. Me and Nate. We fell for each other. The words hit like a sledgehammer. I'd known, deep down, but hearing it out loud was different. It was real. How long? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. 6 months, he admitted, looking at the ground. It started as a fling, but it's more now. 6 months. Half a year of lies, of shared beds and stolen moments with my best friend. I wanted to scream, to punch something, but I just stood there, numb. And the pop-up. The investors. That was Nate's idea, Lucas said, his voice small. He thought we could start something new. Together. Away from you. Away from me. I repeated, the words tasting like ash. So you were just gonna leave. After everything we built. I didn't want to hurt you, he said, his eyes meeting mine for the first time. I still love you, Ethan. I love him too. I laughed. A hollow sound. You don't get to say you love me. Not after this. He reached for my arm, but I pulled away. Don't. I warned. We're done. I walked away, my heart pounding, my world in pieces. Back at the Copper Spoon, I locked myself in the office, ignoring the lunch rush. I called Rachel, telling her to move forward with removing Lucas from the LLC and check the investor contracts. I added, I want to know if he's made any deals. She promised to dig deeper, but I wasn't done. I needed to protect my staff, my customers, my legacy. I started drafting a new schedule, cutting Lucas's shifts without explanation. If he wanted to play dirty, I'd play smarter. That night, I didn't go home. I couldn't face our apartment, the bed we'd shared, the life we'd built. Instead, I slept on the office couch, the hum of the restaurant's fridge my only company. I thought about Nate, about his betrayal, and Lucas, about how I'd missed the signs. I'd been so busy being the alpha running the show, spoiling Lucas that I hadn't seen him slipping away. The next morning, Lucas showed up for his shift, acting like nothing had happened. I watched him from the pass, my jaw tight. You're off today? I said, handing him the new schedule. He frowned, scanning the paper. What's this? Ethan, you're cutting my hours. You're lucky you still have a job, I said, my voice cold. Don't push me. He stared at me, hurt flashing in his eyes. But I didn't care. Not anymore. The staff sensed the tension, their chatter quieter than usual. I didn't explain. I didn't know anyone that. Over the next 2 days, I rebuilt my defenses. I met with the investors again, alone, clarifying that Lucas was no longer part of the expansion plans. They were surprised but didn't push, impressed by my resolve. Rachel confirmed there were no side deals, but I wasn't taking chances. I changed every password, every lock, every access code. The Copper Spoon was mine, and I'd fight for it. Lucas tried to talk to me, leaving voicemails, texts, even a note slipped under the office door. Ethan, please, let's talk. I ignored them all. But late one night, as I was closing up, he cornered me in the kitchen. Ethan, you can't just shut me out, he said, his voice raw. I messed up. Okay. But we can fix this. Fix this. I turned, my anger flaring. You slept with my best friend. You lied to me for months. You were going to leave me and take everything we built. There's no fixing that. I wasn't going to take anything. He protested. The pop-up was just an idea. I'd never hurt the restaurateur you. Then why didn't you tell me? I shot back. Why sneak around? Why Nate? He didn't have an answer. Not a real one. I don't know. He whispered. I got lost. I looked at him. Really looked at him. And for the first time, I didn't see the man I loved. I saw a stranger. Get out, I said. You're done here. He left without a word, the kitchen doors swinging shut behind him. I stood there, alone, the weight of it all crashing down. But I wasn't broken. Not yet. I had the copper spoon, my staff, my dream. And I'd fight for it, no matter what. The copper spoon felt different without Lucas. The kitchen was quieter, the rhythm off, like a song missing its melody. I'd fired him, but the ghost of him lingered in the recipes he'd helped create, the staff he'd trained, the chalkboard specials he used to write with a flourish. I was Ethan Caldwell, the alpha manager who'd built this place. But now I was rebuilding it alone. The staff whispered, sensing the rift. I didn't explain coldn't. How do you tell your team that your partner of 4 years betrayed you with your best friend? Instead, I leaned harder into work. I hired a new sous chef, Mia, a no-nonsense woman in her 30s with a knack for sauces and zero tolerance for drama. She was good, but she wasn't Lucas. No one was. The investors called a week later, confirming funding for the second location. It was a victory, but it felt hollow. I'd won the battle for the copper spoon, but at what cost? My phone buzzed with texts from Lucas, pleading for a chance to talk, but I deleted them unread. Nate, too, tried reaching out, leaving voicemails I didn't listen to. I wanted them both gone, erased from my life like a bad review. But Seattle was small, and I couldn't avoid them forever. One night, while grabbing a drink at a bar downtown, I saw them. Lucas and Nate, sitting in a corner booth, their heads close, laughing like they didn't have a care in the world. My grip tightened on my glass, the bourbon burning my throat. I wanted to confront them, to make them feel the pain they'd caused. But I didn't. I left, the cold night air slapping my face as I walked back to my car. The next day, I threw myself into the expansion plans. I scouted locations, met with architects, and tweaked the menu. The Copper Spoon's second site would be bigger, bolder, a testament to everything I'd overcome. But late at night, alone in the office, I'd stare at the framed photo of me and Lucas from our opening night. We were grinning, arms around each other, the restaurant glowing behind us. I hadn't had the heart to take it down. Rachel called with an update. Lucas is out of the LLC, she said. No ties to the business. But Ethan, there's something else. He's been asking around about starting his own place. With Nate. I laughed. A bitter sound. Let them try. They'll crash and burn. Don't underestimate them, Rachel warned. Lucas knows your playbook. He could be a real competitor. The thought lit a fire in me. Competition. I'd built the Copper Spoon from nothing. If Lucas thought he could outdo me, he was wrong. I doubled down, working 16-hour days, perfecting every detail of the expansion. The staff rallied behind me, sensing my drive. Mia stepped up, her calm efficiency grounding the kitchen. Even the regulars noticed the change, commenting on the new energy in the place. But the hurt lingered. I'd loved Lucas with everything I had spoiled him with: trips, late-night talks, dreams of a future together. And Nate, my best friend since high school, had been my anchor through every storm. Losing them both wasn't just a betrayal. It was a theft of the life I'd thought was mine. One night, after closing, Mia found me in the office, staring at that damn photo. "You okay, boss?" she asked, leaning against the doorframe. I sighed, rubbing my face. "Just tired." She nodded, her eyes sharp. "You're carrying something heavy. Want to talk?" I didn't, but her steady presence cracked something open. "My partner, ex-partner," I corrected. "He cheated. With my best friend." Mia whistled low. "That's rough. But you're still standing. That's what counts." Her words were simple, but they hit hard. I was still standing. The Copper Spoon was thriving. I'd lost Lucas, lost Nate, but I hadn't lost myself. Not yet. The next week, I heard rumors Lucas and Nate were scouting locations for their pop-up. A friend in the industry tipped me off. They were pitching a modern comfort food concept, suspiciously close to the Copper Spoon's vibe. I wasn't surprised, but it stung. They weren't just moving on. They were trying to take a piece of my world. I decided to play offense. I leaked a sneak peek of the new Copper Spoon location to a local food blog, hyping the expansion with exclusive menu teasers. The response was electric reservations spiked, and social media buzzed. If Lucas and Nate wanted a fight, I'd give them one. But the fight wasn't just external. Inside, I was grappling with the why. Why had Lucas strayed? Had I been too controlling, too focused on the restaurant? Had I missed something in him? In us? I started seeing a therapist, a quiet woman named Dr. Chun, who listened as I poured out the mess of my heart. "You're grieving," she said. "Not just them, but the version of yourself you thought you were." She was right. I'd been the alpha, the guy in charge, but I'd let love blind me. I vowed to be smarter, stronger, but not colder. I wouldn't let their betrayal define me. One evening, as I locked up the restaurant, I got a call from an unknown number. It was Lucas. "Ethan, don't hang up," he said quickly. "I need to see you. Please." I wanted to say no, to cut him off for good. But something in his voice, desperate, broken, stopped me. "Fine," I said. "One conversation. That's it." We met at a park near the waterfront, the same place I'd confronted Nate. Lucas looked different, thinner, his eyes shadowed. "I messed up," he said, his voice cracking. "I never wanted to hurt you." "Then why did you?" I asked, my voice steady but raw. "For years, Lucas, I gave you everything." "I know," he whispered. "I got scared. Of us. Of how big it all was. Nate, he was an escape." "An escape?" I laughed. Sharp. "From what?" "From me." "From failing you," he said. "You're so together. The restaurant. Your vision, it's perfect." I felt like I couldn't keep up. His words hit hard, but they didn't excuse him. "You didn't just fail me," I said. "You broke me." He nodded, tears in his eyes. "I'm sorry, Ethan. I'll leave Seattle if you want. Me and Nate. We'll go." I looked at him, the man I'd loved, and felt a strange mix of anger and pity. "Don't run," I said. "Stay. Build your pop-up. But know this, I am not going anywhere. The Copper Spoon is mine, and I'll fight for it." He nodded, silent, and I walked away, the weight of his words lingering. I wasn't just fighting for my restaurant anymore. I was fighting for myself. The Copper Spoon's second location was taking shape, a sleek space in Belltown with exposed brick and a view of the Sound. I threw myself into it, meeting with contractors, tasting new dishes with Mia, and ignoring the ache that still flared when I thought of Lucas. But his words at the park stuck with me. I felt like I couldn't keep up. Had I been too much? Too alpha? I pushed the thought down, focusing on what I could control: the restaurant. My future. The food scene in Seattle was buzzing about Lucas and Nate's pop-up. The Rustic Fork. They'd leased a small space in Fremont, and whispers of their innovative comfort food were making waves. I told myself I didn't care, but every mention of their project felt like salt in a wound. They were using what they'd learned from Mimi recipes, my systems, and twisting it into something new. It wasn't just personal. It was a challenge. I leaned on Mia and the team, who'd become my family. Mia, especially, was a rock, her dry humor cutting through my darker days. "You're Ethan freakin' Caldwell," she said one night, tossing me a beer after closing. "You built this place. They can't touch you." She was right, but doubt lingered. I'd lost so much: Lucas, Nate, the life I'd planned. Could I lose the Copper Spoon's edge too? I countered with action, launching a marketing blitz for the new location. We hosted pop-up dinners, invited influencers, and teased a signature dish of smoked mushroom risotto that had customers raving. The buzz drowned out Lucas and Nate's hype, at least for now. Dr. Chun, my therapist, helped me unpack the mess. "You're rebuilding trust," she said during a session. "Not just in others, but in yourself. That's the hardest part." She was right. I trusted Lucas blindly, loved him fiercely, and it had cost me. Now, I was learning to trust my instincts again. I started opening up to the staff, sharing bits of the expansion vision, asking for their input. It felt risky, but it built loyalty. They weren't just employees. They were my team. One night, a customer left a review that stopped me cold. "The Copper Spoon feels like home, but there's a sadness in the air. Hope the owner's okay." It hit too close. I was keeping it together, but the cracks were showing. I decided to take a day off, me first in months. I drove to the coast, letting the ocean's roar drown out my thoughts. Standing on the rocky shore, I made a promise: I'd heal. Not just for me, but for the Copper Spoon. Back in Seattle, I heard Lucas and Nate's pop-up was struggling. Their opening night had been packed, but reviews were mixed: great food, sloppy service. Part of me wanted to gloat, but another part ached. I'd loved Lucas once, and seeing him fail hurt in a way I didn't expect. Then came the letter. It was slipped under the restaurant's door, addressed to me in Lucas's handwriting. I almost tossed it, but curiosity won. Inside was a single page: "Ethan, I know you hate me, and I deserve it. The Rustic Fork was a mistake, not because it's failing, but because it's not us. I miss you. I miss the Copper Spoon. If you ever want to talk, I'm here. Lucas." I read it 3 times, my hands shaking. "Miss me?" After everything. I wanted to call him, to scream, but I didn't. Instead, I tucked the letter into a drawer and went back to work. Mia noticed my mood. "You good, boss?" she asked, chopping onions with precision. "Yeah," I lied, then sighed. "Lucas wrote me. Says he misses me." She snorted. "He misses your recipes. Don't fall for it." I laughed, her bluntness grounding me. She was right. Lucas didn't get to waltz back in. But the letter stirred something, a flicker of the old hope. I pushed it down, focusing on the new location's soft opening. It was a hit-packed tables, glowing reviews, and a team that had my back. I was winning, but it didn't feel like enough. A week later, I ran into Nate at a supplier's warehouse. He looked tired, his usual swagger gone. "Ethan," he said, hesitant. Can we talk? I wanted to walk away, but I nodded. We stepped outside, the air heavy with the scent of fresh produce. The rustic fork's in trouble, he admitted. We overreached. Lucas is a wreck. Why are you telling me this? I asked, my voice cold. Because I owe you, he said. I screwed up. Ethan. I never meant to hurt you. You did, I said simply. Both of you. He nodded, his eyes downcast. I know. If there's anything I can do. There's not. I cut him off. Fix your own mess. I left him there, my heart pounding but lighter. Confronting Nate didn't erase the pain, but it gave me closure. I didn't need his apologies or Lucas's. I needed to move forward. Back at the Copper Spoon, I started mentoring a young line cook, Javier, who had a knack for flavors and a hunger to learn. Teaching him reminded me why I'd started this love for food, for people, for creating something real. I wasn't just rebuilding a restaurant. I was rebuilding myself. One night, as I locked up, I took down the photo of me and Lucas. I didn't throw it away, just put it in a box. A memory I wasn't ready to erase but didn't need to see. The Copper Spoon was mine, and so was my future. Lucas and Nate could have their pop-up, their love, their chaos. I had something better myself. But late that night, my phone buzzed. A text from Lucas. I'm closing the Rustic Fork. Can we meet? I need to explain. I stared at the screen, my thumb hovering over the reply button. Part of me wanted to ignore it, to keep moving forward. But another part, the part that still remembered our late-night talks, our dreams, wondered if there was more to his story. I didn't reply to Lucas's text right away. The Copper Spoon's new location was days from its grand opening, and I was drowning in final touches, tweaking the lighting, training staff, perfecting the menu. But his words echoed in my head. I'm closing the Rustic Fork. Can we meet? Why now? After months of silence, after I'd started to rebuild, why was he reaching out? I threw myself into work, but the question gnawed at me. Mia noticed, her sharp eyes catching my distraction as we plated samples for the opening. You're thinking about him, aren't you? She said, not looking up from her mise en place. I sighed, wiping my hands on a towel. He wants to talk. Says his pop-up's done. She raised an eyebrow. And you believe him? I don't know, I admitted. But I'm curious. Don't let him mess with your head, she warned. You're doing fine without him. She was right, but fine wasn't enough. I wanted closure, not just for Lucas, but for the part of me that still ached. I texted him back, tomorrow. Coffee shop on Pike. 10 a.m. Short. No promises. I wasn't sure what I'd say, but I needed to hear him out. The grand opening was a whirlwind. The new Copper Spoon was packed, the air alive with laughter, clinking glasses, and the scent of roasted garlic. Customers raved about the smoked mushroom risotto, and critics scribbled notes, their faces lit with approval. My team, Mia, Javier. The servers moved like a well-oiled machine. I stood at the pass, watching it all, and for the first time in months, I felt pride outweigh the pain. But as the night wound down, my thoughts drifted to Lucas. I hadn't told anyone but Mia about the meeting. Dr. Chen's words echoed. Trust yourself. Ethan. You know what you need. Did I? I'd been so sure of Lucas once, and it had burned me. Could I trust my instincts now? The next morning, I arrived at the coffee shop early, my nerves buzzing. Lucas walked in at 10:03, looking worse than I'd expected, his hair unkempt, his eyes shadowed with exhaustion. He sat across from me, clutching a mug like it was a lifeline. Thanks for meeting me, he said, his voice low. I know I don't deserve it. You don't, I said, my tone even. So why am I here? He took a deep breath. The rustic fork's done. We ran out of money. Lost our lease. Nate's moving to Portland. And I'm not going with him. I blinked, caught off guard. You're not. He shook his head. It wasn't real. Ethan. Me and Nate, it was a mistake. I thought I wanted out. Wanted something new. But I was wrong. I leaned back, crossing my arms. You expect me to feel sorry for you? After everything? No, he said quickly. I needed you to know. I messed up. I hurt you, and I'll never forgive myself for it. His words stirred something, but not the way they used to. I didn't feel the old spark, the pull that had kept me tethered to him for years. I felt detached. Why tell me now? I asked. What do you want? I don't know, he admitted, his voice breaking. I miss you. I miss us. The copper spoon. The late nights. The way we built something together. I threw it away, and I don't know how to fix it. You can't, I said, my voice firm but not cruel. You made your choice. Lucas. You and Nate. You don't get to walk back and like nothing happened. He nodded, tears welling in his eyes. I know. I had to try. We sat in silence, the hum of the coffee shop filling the space between us. I looked at him, really looked, and saw the man I'd loved but also the man who'd betrayed me. He wasn't my future anymore. He was my past. I'm sorry, Ethan, he said finally. For everything. I nodded, standing. I hope you find what you're looking for, Lucas. But it's not here. I walked out, the weight of his apology settling but not crushing me. For the first time, I felt free not just from Lucas, but from the anger that had chained me. I drove to the Copper Spoon, the new location glowing under the morning sun. My team was already there, prepping for lunch, and I joined them, rolling up my sleeves. Mia grinned as I walked in. How'd it go? It's done, I said simply. I'm good. She nodded, tossing me an apron. Then let's make some magic, boss. The days that followed were a blur of success. The new Copper Spoon was a hit, with lines out the door and reviews calling it Seattle's next big thing. I mentored Javier, who was blossoming into a star chef, and leaned on Mia, who'd become more than a Caligula friend. I even started dating again. Small steps. Nothing serious. Just coffee. A laugh. A chance to feel something new. One night, as I locked up, I got a text from Rachel. Heard Lucas left town. The rustic fork's officially closed. You okay? I smiled, typing back, better than okay. I was. The Copper Spoon was thriving. My team was solid. And I was finding myself again. Lucas's betrayal had broken me, but it hadn't defined me. I'd built something real, something mine, and no one could take that away. But life has a way of twisting the knife. A month later, I found a package outside the restaurant, a small box with my name on it. Inside was a recipe card, written in Lucas's handwriting, Ethan's truffle mac. A note was tucked beneath it. This was always yours. I'm sorry. I stared at the card, memories flooding back, late nights perfecting that dish. Lucas's laugh as we tasted it. I didn't cry. I didn't throw it away. I slipped it into the drawer with his letter, a reminder of what was and what I'd overcome. The Copper Spoon's success didn't erase the scars, but it gave me purpose. Every packed table, every glowing review, was a brick in the new life I was building. I was Ethan Caldwell, 30 now. Still the alpha manager. But wiser. Tempered by betrayal and time. Lucas was gone. And with him, the weight of what we'd been. The recipe card he'd left sat in my office drawer. A quiet relic of a love I no longer needed. Spring brought new energy to Seattle. The new location was a cornerstone of Belltown's food scene, and the Copper Spoon's original spot in Capitol Hill hummed with loyal regulars. Mia had taken on more responsibility, running the kitchen with a fierce precision that rivaled my own. Javier was experimenting with new dishes, his confidence growing under my mentorship. The team wasn't just a staff, they were my family, forged in the fire of hard work and shared dreams. I kept seeing Dr. Chun, unpacking the layers of hurt and rebuilding my trust. "You're not just surviving," she said during a session. "You're thriving." That's resilience. Her words stuck with me, a reminder that I wasn't defined by Lucas's betrayal or Nate's disloyalty. I was defined by what I did next. One evening, as I was tweaking the summer menu, Mia burst into the office, her phone in hand. "You need to see this," she said, thrusting the screen at me. It was a local food blog, announcing the closure of the Rustic Fork. The article was kind but blunt, ambitious but underbaked. The pop-up couldn't find its footing. There was a photo of Lucas and Nate at their opening, their smiles forced. I felt a pang, not joy, not sadness, just a quiet acknowledgement of what was. "You okay?" Mia asked, her voice softer than usual. "Yeah," I said, handing her phone back. "It's their story now, not mine." She nodded, squeezing my shoulder. "Damn right. Now, come taste this new dessert sauce. Javier's outdoing himself." I laughed, following her to the kitchen. Javier had whipped up a lavender honey glaze that was pure magic, and we spent the next hour debating pairings, the tension of the past months melting away. This was my world now: food, people, creation. I didn't need Lucas to complete it. A few weeks later, I got an email from a former regular, now a food critic in Portland. She mentioned seeing Lucas, working as a line cook in a small bistro. "He's quieter now," she wrote. "Asked about you. I told him the Copper Spoon's killing it." I didn't reply, but the news settled something in me. Lucas was moving on, and so was I. I started giving back, hosting community dinners at the restaurant for local shelters. It felt right, using the Copper Spoon to build something bigger than myself. One night, as we served plates of truffle mac to a group of grateful faces, a young man, maybe 20, with bright eyes and a shy smile, thanked me. "This place feels like home," he said. His words echoed that customer review from months ago, but this time, they didn't carry sadness. They carried hope. I began to see myself differently, not just as the alpha manager, but as someone capable of growth, of forgiveness. I didn't forgive Lucas or Nate. Not exactly, but I let go of the anger. It was heavy, and I was tired of carrying it. I even started dating again. A guy named Sam, a graphic designer with a quick laugh and no ties to my past. It wasn't love, not yet, but it was a start. One quiet Sunday, I opened the office drawer and pulled out Lucas's recipe card. I traced the words, "Ethan's Truffle Mac," and smiled. It wasn't his anymore. It was mine. I pinned it to the kitchen board, a quiet reclaiming of what I'd built. The staff noticed, but no one asked. They didn't need to. The Copper Spoon's one-year anniversary at the new location was a celebration of everything we'd achieved. We threw a party, live music, free appetizers, a packed house. Mia gave a toast, her voice carrying over the crowd, to Ethan, who didn't just build a restaurant, but a home. The cheers were deafening, and for the first time in a long time, I felt whole. As the night wound down, I stepped outside. The Seattle air cool against my skin. The city sparkled, alive with possibility. I thought about Lucas, about Nate, about the pain they'd caused. It didn't define me anymore. I'd taken their betrayal and turned it into something strong, a restaurant that thrived, a team that trusted me, a life that was mine. I walked back inside, the laughter of my team pulling me in. The copper spoon was more than a place, it was a testament to resilience, to love that didn't break, even when it bent. I was Ethan Caldwell, and I was enough.